Hello out there. I'm T.M. Brown, and I'm so excited to begin this journey with you. I'll be reading from my very first book, A Life Not My Own. I'll share my readings with you periodically through this channel. You may decide that you'd like to read along with me, which I think would be really cool. So feel free to grab a copy of my book through my www.authortmbrown.com. My intent is to share more with you than you'd experience if you read the book on your own. Little tidbits of the experiences that I had as I was writing the story. So we will start with the very first page and work our way through the book. I'll try to remember to tell you what page we're on as we begin each episode. So we're starting from the very beginning today. Again, the name of the book is A Life Not My Own by me, T.M. Brown. This is the second edition of the book. The only thing that's changed from the first edition is that it has a new, improved cover, thanks to Karen Perkins and Cecilia Morgan out of the UK. And I'd like to dedicate this book again to my son Michael and my daughter Lissa. I love you both more than anything in the world. So the first chapter is called Mack and Me. Shush, be quiet, boy. You want to eat, don't you? Just take the stuff off the top and let's go. Who that? Little Tina and Mac? Is that you? Yes, ma'am. What y'all doing down there? What? Y'all come on up here right now. See, I told you to be quiet. Now we're in trouble, I said. My mind was already thinking about the various ways this might play out. I don't remember, or maybe I haven't been able to remember, the circumstances that led to my brother, Mac, and I getting to this point. All I know is, to this day, I can still feel how hungry we were and how good those fish scraps looked when we found them wrapped in aluminum foil, sitting right on top of the trash below the lid of the first trash can that we searched. Mac and I climbed the fire escape ladder to the apartment of the lady who caught us, not knowing what to expect. After all, it was the early 1960s, a time when any adult who caught a child misbehaving could spank that ass real good and then take you home where you'd receive another spanking. We could see her standing at the window as we climbed the ladder. Y'all be careful. Hurry up. Don't cry, Mac. Everything will be all right. She don't even know Betty. When we reached her landing, she extended her hand to help us through the small kitchen window into her apartment. She had a strange look on her face. It was a look that I couldn't read. I was good at reading people's faces. I could tell when Betty was mad, when she wanted to be with us, when she was going to leave us in the apartment alone for days, everything. This was a different look somehow. What y'all doing out there? She said, What y'all doing out there? Where's your mama? Did y'all have breakfast this morning? Is your mama home? Stop that crying. Damn. Come sit down at the table. We were really in trouble now. Betty would be mad if she knew we were in somebody's kitchen telling her things we weren't supposed to. Mac didn't say a word. He just looked at me every time the lady asked a question. I tried to answer without saying too much, but she was too smart and the questions came too fast. So we just sat there watching her in the kitchen. Her kitchen was so clean and bright, and she had food. I watched her every move. I could smell the lard frying in a large cast iron pan. She was putting cornmeal and seasoning on real big pieces of fish. When she placed the fish in the pan, the grease sizzled around them and made popping sounds. The smell of the fish was so intoxicating that Mac and I sat straight up. It was something I'd never forget. I was impressed by the manner in which she prepared the food. It was obvious that she made this meal many times before. Nothing in the kitchen seemed to get dirty as she cooked. We ate good that night. She made us eat the fish until we couldn't eat another bite. She also gave us cream-style corn. I had never tasted that before. The lady promised that she wouldn't tell Betty about this. We descended back down the ladder with our stomachs fuller than they had been in a long time. I don't want to see you babies doing that again, you hear me? Yes, ma'am. There were many times when I wanted to run back to the nice lady's house when we were hungry, but I knew if anyone told Betty about it, then I would be in big trouble. It's not like we never had anything to eat. Betty got her welfare check once a month, $1 worth of bologna, and a loaf of blue ribbon bread could spread a long way in those days, especially if you had the grocer slice the bologna real thin. It just seemed that no matter how thin he sliced it, it could only last for so long. Prior to the food stamp age, welfare recipients received real food. At least, I think it was real food. Huge cans of processed meat, powdered milk, cheese, beans, and peanut butter, which, to be honest, was my favorite. I remember sitting on the front stoop of our apartment building with other children in the same situation. Our stoop had an invisible fence that would get you in big trouble if you crossed it. We all had the biggest tablespoon of peanut butter that we could manage. We sat there for hours, it seemed, licking on those spoons until they were clean. We weren't the only ones living as we were, maybe for different reasons, but we were all hungry. We ate the peanut butter from the spoon similar to the manner in which the suburban children ate ice cream. That's not to say we didn't have ice cream. The ice cream man just didn't come to our neighborhood after about the 5th of the month. He would just be wasting his gas at that point. Ain't nobody got no money to be spending on no damn ice cream every day. Go get a nickel off the dresser and go down to Miss Mary's and buy a freezy cup, Betty would say. The majority of the dwellings that we lived in with Betty were apartments. These apartments were in stone or brick row homes with beautiful balconies, oak staircases, and tall decorated ceilings, all of which had seen better days. The heating systems often failed, and the upkeep of the apartments was non-existent. The tenants were people of similar circumstances. Some had too many children, were alcoholics, drug addicts, and criminals, all of which made for strange house rules. There were certain boundaries involved when living in an environment such as this. Space was at a minimum, therefore intrusions into one's privacy was unacceptable. There were common areas such as the front stoop where the tenants would converse, but for the most part, interaction was kept to a minimum. It was common knowledge that the area in which we lived in was bad, but the residents seemed to adjust to it. It was common for adult fistfights to break out on hot summer nights. No reason was ever too small for such an event. Fights could occur for just looking at someone the wrong way, but most of them occurred as a result of infidelity. Fights involving women would draw the most attention. Since there were very few men in the neighborhood, women would find themselves literally fighting to keep their man. The scratching, kicking, name-calling, spitting, biting, and stripping off of clothing would be the talk of the community for days, or at least until the next fight occurred. Mack and I spent most of our time alone in the apartment. Betty instructed us not to disturb the neighbors and to never open the front door. The reasoning behind the many rules that Betty forced upon us was never explained to us. Mack and I lived under the major rule of do as I say, not as I do. And we did just that without question. There was no room for disrespect. Betty would not allow it. There was a definite line between what children were allowed to do and that which adults were allowed to do. This line was present in most of the homes in our neighborhood. So that concludes this first episode, the first reading of A Life Not My Own. And I truly hope that you guys have enjoyed the reading. And I look forward to sharing more of the story with you. It looks like it'll probably be a chapter or so for each episode, or at least until we get into the real serious, into the middle of the book where it's a lot long. The chapters are a lot longer. So I thank you for your time. I hope that you have enjoyed the reading. Don't forget to go pick up your copy of this book, A Life Not My Own, or maybe one of my other books, which include Struggles of the Womenfolk, Tethered Angel, and a free anthology that I wrote with 5 other amazing authors. Also, all of these books are available on Amazon.com. The anthology is called Just Between Us, Inspiring Stories by Women, and has been in the top 20 in the free Kindle download category for years. So I invite you to continue to join me. Find yourself a nice, comfortable, quiet spot and listen to the episodes. Have yourself a good day. Talk to you soon.